Hi, welcome back. I want to give you some more general words now that can be made more precise, more sharp vocabulary like we talked about in our last video. We as writers always want to be clear, precise. We never want readers to guess. We never want to use words with a double or fuzzy meaning. And I'm going to give you some examples of words with double meanings or fuzzy meanings and clearer, more precise words that we should use instead. We don't use the words much or strongly. Better would be markedly. Markedly means you can mark it. It was a 1 and now it's a 2. Or significantly if it's a statistical improvement. Or substantially for volume increasing. So markedly would be like a 2D increase. Substantially would be a 3D increase. Significantly would be a statistical increase. Complicated. The reason we don't like this word is it could be for something physical or non-physical, like a physical task could be complicated, but an idea could also be complicated. Rather than using this word, we would prefer to use the word complex for an idea and cumbersome for a physical task that's difficult to do. Another word you could use rather than cumbersome would be intricate. Intricate means the small difficult thing, the tiny motion difficult task. Cumbersome might be the larger motion difficult task. So, for example, fixing a watch is intricate because it's so small. Moving a sofa would be cumbersome because it's a bigger task that's difficult to do. Meet. A fuzzy word. Nice to meet you, or my results meet the requirements of this study. Rather than say meet, we would prefer to say my results satisfy the requirements or fulfill the requirements of this study. Or adhere to. Now, adhere to is special. We use the word adhere to when we're talking about a rule or some kind of policy that we must follow. Solve. How did you solve your problem? When you use the word solve, I have no information. But when you use a better word than solve, I'll know a lot more. And some examples are alleviate. Now, alleviate means to remove the short-term symptom, but not the root cause of a problem. So, for example, if you're feeling pain and you take pain medication, your pain is alleviated, but the root cause of the pain may still be there. So it's a short-term, symptom-only solution. Now, modify means you're changing something to solve the problem. Resolve means solving the problem between people or companies or countries or organizations. It's always a people problem. John and Mary are fighting. You talk to John, you talk to Mary, now they're friends. You resolved their problem. Eliminate, the problem is gone, it can't come back. Eradicate means to kill. It's dead. It can never return. Way. Now, way you solved your problem is also fuzzy. Way could be a highway, freeway, also there's a double meaning. And so we would prefer to use a clearer word like method, means, approach, or strategy that you use to solve your problem. Figure out is fuzzy. Figure has a double meaning, which means number. And figure out also is a fuzzy phrase. It's a colloquial phrase that we would avoid in our academic writing. Better would be to determine, would be to see something mathematically or figure out mathematically. Distinguish, to see the small differences between two things. Differentiate, to emphasize the large differences between two things. Discriminate, to see the difference between one and all the others, usually in a negative way. And identify means to know its name. So you can see how the word figure out or the phrase figure out has multiple meanings, and we would choose a better word. Don't write suitable, rather appropriate means matching the situation, or adequate means enough for the situation. Tries. How hard did you try? There are different levels of effort. Attempt, aim, aspire. You could use this to talk about your own work or someone in your literature review that you are citing. These words would be fine to talk about that. Usually. Now, usually is a fuzzy word because there's so many applications of the word. So let me give you better words than usually. Now again, usually is fine for conversation, but I'm talking about for your paper. In your paper, if you're talking about an event that happens in time or a time-based event, then you can say the word normally. For example, I normally wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's a time event. Or regularly is also for time events. I regularly go to work at 8. So when events are predictable in time, then say normally or regularly. Now, if it's not a time-based event, then say typically. For example, typhoons typically have winds of 300 miles per hour. When, we don't know when the typhoon will come, but when it comes, we can say something about a typical typhoon. Now, when you're talking about populations or groups, say generally. People generally drink coffee in the morning rather than night. It means most people drink coffee in the morning rather than night. Or the greater group, the larger population, use the term generally. So for time-based events, normally. For non-time-based events, typically. And for populations, generally. Very. Very is a fuzzy word, and I try to cut it out of papers wherever I can because it just doesn't tell me very much, and there are better words I can use instead, like highly, rather, quite, or extremely. Let me make this simple, like I tell my students. The word quite is half a very. The word rather is like 1 very. Highly, 2 very. Extremely, 3 very. So don't say very, very, very important. Say extremely significant. Use the most precise language you can to indicate how very it is that you're talking about. Whole. Now, whole could be either physical or non-physical. So if it's a physical thing, you can say complete or entire. But for knowledge, for information, you can say comprehensive. Make clear is a fuzzy term because you can make your window clear, but you can also make your meaning clear. If you're talking about meaning, say elucidate or clarify. Well, thank you for joining us. I want to point you to my website for more information. It's editing.tw. We revise and translate papers for Taiwanese scholars who want to publish in international journals, and we're very good at this. And we can provide you with a local fapiao for your project needs as well. We provide comments and suggestions to you about how you can rewrite your paper, and we have a guarantee that if you receive any comment about poor English, we revise the whole paper again for free. I also maintain a blog where I post many articles for Taiwanese authors trying to publish in international journals. It's editing.tw/blog. Please visit us and see more information on how you can publish. Thanks for joining us.